This is my leadership climate. It's the environment I hope to establish with my future organization as I serve as a leader. So, just a little bit of background information on where I hope to be at and the future position I chose for the sake of this project. I hope to be an associate athletic trainer overseeing both the men's and women's cross country and track and field program at the Division 1 level. With this leadership role, I would supervise other athletic trainers. This could be either an intern or an assistant athletic trainer also covering these sports. It just depends on the institution that I'm employed at. I would also oversee student athletes, specifically those within the cross country and track and field program, as well as athletic training students assigned to me. Another important aspect to this position is that because of the holistic approach to student athlete healthcare, I would need to have a relationship with those individuals that I may not have a direct leader-follower relationship. So I'd need to develop relationships with strength coaches, my sport coaches, academic advisors, really kind of anybody that might be working with our athletes in order to provide the best care for them. And then also being a part of both a team and a department, while I have to have my own individual culture, it should ultimately reflect both the coaching staff and the sports medicine department. I believe that leadership is not a title you hold, but rather a relationship you have. Because leadership is relational, it needs to be follower focused. That's why I believe that leadership needs to be servant oriented, authentic, and transformational. Leaders should be attentive to the needs of their followers. Within athletic training, the health and well-being of our student athletes is always our first priority. We aim to serve those we lead. We want to help our followers as we lead them. Leaders should also develop and grow their followers. The organization and the leader will only become more successful by empowering and influencing those around them. Authenticity allows a leader to connect with their followers. In order to develop lasting relationships, a sense of vulnerability and trust needs to be established. At the end of the day, a leader is nothing without their followers, which is why it's vital for these relationships to be formed. In order to best represent my future climate vision, I came up with the Olympic rings, where each ring represents a different portion of my vision. So I kind of started out with three core values that I have for my future organization, which is commitment, community, and collaboration. And then connecting two of those rings together was growth and relationships, because I felt that in order to get from commitment to community, growth needed to be established so that we could, while you may have committed individuals, as you develop them and create buy-in for themselves, they would be buying into the community or the organization. And then in order to get from collaboration to a sense of community, relationships need to be established so that you can utilize these interactions in order to have a better sense of a team atmosphere. And I decided to use the Olympic rings just because obviously I'm working within a track and field program mostly, and a lot of the student athletes do have hopes, or at least did have hopes to have to be successful and maybe even make it to the Olympics. And I think within the Olympic, it's kind of the epitome of track and field. So my first core value of community really created a family-like atmosphere within our organization. A lot of the pictures kind of reflect my time here at Boise State, which is kind of how I decided on this core value. I think Boise State does a really good job at this, and I definitely, from being out of state and moving here and having no family here, I just feel like a sense of connection with the Boise State athletic program and sports medicine specifically, and even the track and field program here. I really think that there's a benefit to having a connection with those you work with, and it just makes it more like a lighter environment and more fun to be at when you're able to develop these authentic relationships. Another thing too is when you become a community or a team, you have shared fate or a common identity and goals, which helps the organization that if whatever I'm doing and the work I'm putting into is ultimately going to helping the organization or others around me. And I think that's a big thing. Also, too, when there's a community, you have a sense of cohesion, and things just kind of flow and work together because the relationships that are there. Um, my other core value was commitment. This is essentially that we're going to have driven individuals that are committed to the organization, but also the organization is going to be committed to them. So we have high standards of performance at my future organization, but and we're going to get in the people that we want to get in and that are going to be successful. But I think the biggest thing is that our organization needs to be able to motivate and develop these individuals. Nobody's going to come into an organization at their full potential. So if your organization doesn't help them grow or develop, they're going to be stagnant, and your organization isn't going to grow or develop, and you're going to be kind of plateauing very quickly. So that's kind of how I decided that the climate would be motivational and developing to the student athletes, the other athletic trainers, and even the student athletic trainers, just so they can be successful and help our program ultimately be successful. Another thing I really thought that was kind of important was helping people establish their passion or finding their why. Working in college athletics, there's not a lot of extrinsic motivation, in my opinion, unless you're part of a winning program and you're getting a ring every year, but the money usually isn't there unless you're a high profile coach. So you need to find the little things that help that motivate you to get you through. And I think that's a big thing that as a leader I could help with, help people find their why and just really grow people to their full potential within my organization. One of the last core values I kind of came up with for my future organizational climate would be collaboration. I really want the employees that I work with to feel comfortable to work together and just have an overall synergy. I think it's very effective if you are able to combine knowledge and skills. You're only going to get better by being able to collaborate. And a huge issue I think college athletics has is a lot of times when somebody asks why do we do something, the big answer is, oh, well, that's just the way we've always done it, which to help combat that, I think collaboration can create a sense of diversity and innovation and ideas in order to establish new principles that may be better than the old way of doing something. Two big things that kind of go with this, it kind of correlates a lot with community and utilizing those established relationships in order to feel comfortable to talk to somebody else, to ask for help, to work with other individuals and bounce ideas off of each other. And then another thing that goes with this is communication is key. You need to be able to listen to others and for their feedback and just be able to articulate your ideas to others or your own feedback to somebody else effectively and efficiently. And then finally, just some expectations that kind of correlate with the 3 core values that I had was essentially I want all employees and the people that I supervise specifically to be a team. I want them to, they need to be able to not only treat each other with respect and value each other, they also need to contribute to the overall team. Like everyone needs to pull their own weight and be supportive. And everyone has a role in the team and they need to be contributing to that role. And there's no role that's too small. Everyone's contributing to the success of the overall organization. They also need to be able to create interpersonal relationships with each other and have that authentic connection with others. And even going outside of the student athletes need to be able to work and be a team with the student athletic trainers and the other athletic training staff, and everyone needs to be able to work together into one common team. Another aspect is I want my employees to be open to growing and developing. I don't want them to be complacent. I think that's a huge issue that especially successful people have, is once they've been successful, they kind of just fizzle out. But I want people to continue to be able to reach the high goals I have. They need to be open to feedback and intrinsically motivated in order to be successful. They can't rely on those extrinsic outcomes. And then lastly, just with the collaboration, they need to work together with others. They should help others, ask for help. And another big thing is don't avoid conflict. I think conflict can be very beneficial within an organization, and especially when it's handled properly. So ultimately, that's kind of where I would like my leadership climate to go.